Esta es Global Tel Link. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido en de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5.
This call is now being
Gracias
recorded.
por utilizar Global Tel Link.
Hello.
Hello?
Hey, Joe. How's it going?
Yeah. It's going good, man. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, and happy New Year to you today. It's the third day of the year so far, and nothing but good news so far.
Yeah, absolutely. On this end, for sure, all good news. And the audience might not know, but like I've been saying, I'm new to this, and you're new to this. So right now, I just got some messages cleared. So what James did is he's sending me pictures of the screen, and now I'm starting to see the people that are logged in and the comments, and I'm starting to put together a picture of like when I'm talking and the things they're saying and the things they're interacting with each other too, And I just want to say, this is a new experience for me, and it's joyful. It's very joyful, and I'm very appreciative of the conversations we're having. And I think Righteous Monkey, I believe it was Righteous Monkey who said about the routine in prison and how important it is, right? And I kind of didn't even touch up on that. I just kind of said like I was all negative before and now I'm positive, so the kind of days roll out like that, right? But the more this show goes on, the more I'm calling in, the more I feel like it's becoming a routine of mine. Like I'm getting happy to call in, I'm getting happy to just engage with humans that are not currently locked up, right? And at the same time, I know it's a good deed because I know we're trying to change lives, whether it be direct for somebody that's really in the lifestyle that's ready to that's ready to hear some things that are eye-opening to them, right? I'm not going to say maybe they're not ready to change, but that are eye-opening to them. And also for a parent, like if you're raising a kid and you hear something and it resonates to you and you're like, oh man, that's a trip. I never even thought about it like that. So I just want to start this morning off with thanking the audience, thanking the crowd, thanking Elias Man and Felipe in Texas, Fish Slayer SoCal, hey Liz Ama, I believe I'm saying that right, and G Unit's very finest, Tony Yayo, man, Tony Yayo. I read some of his comments. He's off the hook, man. And Lifestyle Chronicles, Jerry Eastwood, Too Vivid. Like these are some of the things. These are some of the names that are coming in, and you don't grab those names when James is reading them off to me. I'm trying hard to think of these names. You're trying hard because these are people, and you want to not miscall them. But when you get to read their comments, like the names stick more in your mind. And this is on you. And I'm looking at it like you guys are my day ones, You guys are my day ones in this, So if this ever goes crazy, like you guys are going to always be forever special to me. And probably more people that come in until, you probably can't name everybody no more. But right now, believe there's definitely a feeling about that with you guys right now.
Man, definitely appreciate that. Yeah, and like you said, you definitely want to recognize our supporters here that tune in every day, day in and day out, and they're the ones that are making all this possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And with that being said, I'm gonna go hand the mic over to you, and you could go ahead and do your thing.
Okay. And here's a couple things I want to touch up on, because as I'm reflecting about what I said and the audience, right? I think somebody from California will see, like when I'm telling these stories about the county jail, I'm saying like I thought this way, that's why I did this, And granted, taking the TV away from their time, that was all me. That was all my thinking, right? And that was all me influencing the situation as it happened. And when I decided, like, nobody's going to steal from any lifers because I'm a lifer and this is one car, right? That's all me, too. Like, nobody pushed that on me. But what I want to say is that in California, you'll kind of know that I'm not doing these things alone, you know? But in outside of the states or maybe in other states, you'll probably think, like, dang, this guy's a troublemaker. This guy's, and I was. I'm not denying that. But in all the incidences that I'm not telling you every story, obviously. In all those other incidences, it'll be like me and Alcinor. We were in everything. But it's not only us two. It's like me, Alcinor, and inmate 1, or me, Alcinor, and inmate 1 and 2 on the next incident. And on the next incident, it's me, Alcinor, and inmate 4, 5, 6, and 7. So sometimes we'll be causing harm to an individual. And it's not just always me and Alcinor. It's like, sometimes it's like 7 of us on one. Sometimes it's like 10 on one. Sometimes it's like 2, 3 on one. And the things are going like that. So I want to, like, give a picture to someone that's not familiar with this lifestyle and someone that's not accustomed to this kind of behavior, right? It's like a crowd decision. Like, I'm not drifting.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
I'm not drifting all the way and doing my own thing. I'm like, everybody's supportive in this ugly lifestyle we were living at the time, right? And another thing I'm mentioning is, like, I told the Muhammad story where Rambo and them don't, for good reason at the same time. They don't retaliate for good reason, right? Because Muhammad was stealing from their people too, But since I brought blacks into the picture, right, there's two sides to that coin, I never really kicked it with black people on the streets. Like, for one reason or another, I just, you get into these party crews and the crowd's not black. It's like mostly Mexicans, and there were a couple Asians in there, maybe like 1 or 2 white boys in there, right? But what I want to say is, when I went to the county jail, you're living with 21 men in a tank. Now, during my journey in the county jail, I met some cool-ass black people, man. And it exposed me to their culture and to just meeting different people. And I'll be in these tanks with, like, Big Whack and Little Whack from Altadena Block, and Trey from Cali Park, and Jinx, Al D, Mike G from 1200, Hucklebuck from 28, Nissan. Like, these were cool people that you bond with. Tom from 40s, man. I used to give this man haircuts in the county, and you bond with them, and that's opening up your eyes. And we're all criminals, and during all this aspect, you're gonna always hear about, like, a criminal element, But these are genuine relationships and friendships I built in the county through all this chaos, and especially Trey from Cali Park, right? I just excuse me. I just went over where the guy's bringing in the paperwork to me at visit and putting it on the window, and it's him and his girl. And then I moved to another part of the jail. And the reason I moved to the other part of the jail is because this is sentencing time. So they're moving me because they know they're going to get rid of me. They're going to send me to prison soon. So I'm already found guilty, and they move me because this is going to be like my last move, and I'm going to spend maybe 2 weeks there. Or let's give it an extra week. Let's even give it a month, right? So I go to this new tank in a month. I'm there like 2 days. This guy that I know from the past, when I was confronting him, he left. He came, and I put the soaps in the socks, and everyone tries to jump in for him, and I call everyone, like, if you jump in for this man again, you're with him, and everyone leaves him alone, and we continue, and the cops come and take us. This is where I meet Trey from Cali Park. And we have a short time with each other, but the bond was so strong because I'm barely coming in and he sees me do this. And prior to me doing this, I guess he's real wild boy in the county, And he's allegedly incarcerated for like 3 murders he's fighting at the time, 3 murder cases, And he's like a year older than me. He's a very young man. And while I'm going to prison, we all know that. we all know I'm about to get sentenced. I'm about to catch the chain. That's what you call a transfer to county to the spot where I'm going to be at forever, you know? So we start bonding and we start talking every day, and we're getting tighter every day. Like every day I wake him up like, "What's up, fool?" Da 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 da. And we'll be over there by his bunk and talking all day, you know? And at this point I'm looking at this guy like he got more heart and he got more qualities as a man than these other individuals that try to break up the fight or whatever, right? So I'm spending more of my time with him, and I'm like, I don't care about nothing. I'm going to prison. Like, I really don't care. But we start confessing a fear within each other, and we both didn't want to say it, but when we were saying it to each other, we'll be laughing like, yeah, I didn't want to tell nobody that, you know? And I'm like, me neither, fool. And the fear is, like, I'm telling him, I'm scared to go to prison. And he's right up my alley. He's going to get sentenced. He's going to get convicted. We're both lifers. And we're both going to come to prison for the rest of our lives. And he's telling me, too, like, I'm scared to go to prison, too, right? And we break down the fear. We're talking to each other, and I'm like, I'm not scared of violence. Like, I'm all about this life. Like, I'm about it, you know. But I'm scared when they say, like, you're going to crash, you're going to burn. Like, I don't know what that means. And neither does he. Like, we're just two little kids, and we're being taught these things, and we don't even know, like, the full knowledge of what we're being taught, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is I have a fear of losing. I have a fear of losing, and he has the same fear. And then we'll look at each other, and we'll be like, but I'm going to make it, though, you know, because you know me already. And he's like, yeah, I know you. You're going to make it, fool. And I'm like, you are too, fool, because you're just like me. We're just different races, right? We're both two wild stallions, you know? And when I see this guy for the last time, I tell him, don't worry, fool. By the time you get up there, like, I'll have figured it out. And then I'll game you up. I'll lace you up. And we might not be able to talk how we're talking here because it might be prison, it might be different, you know, with, like, tension or this or that. But believe me, like, I'm your friend to the end. I'll lace you up, homie, and I'm going to try to teach you everything I learned from this point till we meet again. Now, what I don't realize at this time is prison is a big place. And I never see Trey again in my life. So I never get to give him anything I learned prior to him coming up. That's it. He's lost in the system. I'm lost in the system, you know? And but that's how we were thinking my last days right there. And I just want to touch upon that because those are friendships with black people that you develop in the county that I don't want none of the audience to see like, oh, this stuff don't happen in there. Because you grow close to people, you know? And here's another part. You know, I'm going to start exiting the county and I'm going to start going to prison. But before I exit, there's like things I have to say. Remember Jimmy in the beginning where I'm telling you I meet this guy in juvenile hall and I invest all my friendships. Like I'm giving him all my loyalty and we're only spending months. But this is kind of how prison works and how jail works. Like you're with people for a short distance of time and you give them all of you. You're like, fool, I'll die for you. I'll ride for you. And they're exchanging the same kind of love and like it's just till the end, fool. Like, you know, there's a whole nother group that you're representing, of course, but these are bonds within the group. These are bonds. Like these bonds don't happen all the time. They're much smaller and much more like this fool got my back like my brother, 100%. The group could be mad at me, and this guy got my back. You know, these are these kind of bonds. So when I'm hunting this guy down for Jimmy, I realized he was in PC. So then the thoughts of trying to get him were like over. Like we're never going to get him, right? And this story's kind of crazy because he ends up coming out of PC. And these stories.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
These stories.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
Oh, they just don't want me to tell the story, but I'm still going to tell it, baby. This guy ends up coming out of PC because he has so much support. Like, there is his family members are right there. His uncles, his cousins, they're like, he don't belong in there. Get him out. And the longer you do in the county jail, the more juice you have, so to speak, with these cops. Because they start knowing you. They start knowing you're in all the incidents. You're fighting everybody. They start looking at you like, okay, this is a badass right here. So they get one of these badass individuals, and they tell him, can you talk to the cops? Because you got so much juice with them. And he's like, oh, bro, like, you're talking about taking someone out of PC. Like, I don't care how much juice I have. It's not going to happen, right? But he's like, I'm gonna try, but I'm gonna tell you right now, like, I don't think I could pull this off. Long story short, he pulls it off, man.
All right. So once again, you guys should be familiar with the routine already. These calls are only limited to 15 minutes, unfortunately. So he should be calling us back shortly, and I'm reading the messages right now, and I'll go ahead and mention to him as soon as he calls back that we have a Righteous Monkey in here, and Amy. Really appreciate you guys, tapping in, and you guys are definitely, going to help propel this channel or stream, to those people that should be hearing these things that transpired. Oh, there we go.
This call is now being recorded.
Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
Hello, Joe.
Hello.
All right.
Yeah, I'm right here.
So I want to mention to
we'll
you.
Jump right back into it. Okay, yes.
Before you jump right back into it, let me just inform you that Righteous Monkey is in here, and he's wishing us a good morning. And we also have one of our new listeners, Amy, tapping in, saying good morning also.
Okay. And thank you, Amy, and thank you, Righteous Monkey, man. It's good to have you back. And I feel like I know you a little bit, Righteous Monkey. So we're gonna go dive back into this story, right? And this guy comes out of PC. And he's with us on the lines. And when I find this information out, like, first of all, a lot of people don't know he was in there. So they're trying to keep this on the DL. They're trying to keep this quiet because, again, he got lots of family. He's from a big neighborhood. And they're like, we're going to fix this, In their opinions, they're like, we're going to fix this. This is our family member. We're not going to let him go down the drain. And this only ignites my passion for Jimmy, for the commitment I made to Jimmy. Like, I'm going to take care of this fool for you. So now he's on the lines, and now I'm on the lines, and I'm like, oh, yeah, it's hunting time. And in my mind, I'm trying to hunt him down, and we're missing the tanks, we're missing this, we're missing that. And all I want to do is get revenge for Jimmy, because you don't tell on your crime partner, Now, what I didn't know at the time when I made this commitment to Jimmy was that Jimmy he wasn't lying when he said he was busted for a carjacking. He was telling the truth, right? But he didn't say the whole truth. Now, both of them were busted, and I find this out in the county as I'm running into his homeboys that ain't in the tank with his uncles and cousins that are protecting him. They're telling me this fool got busted for a carjacking and a rape, and they did things to the girl, and I'm like, oh, man. And so now I'm looking at Jimmy like he betrayed me, like, oh, you're, and a side of me is telling me, well, maybe this is made up. Maybe Jimmy's not like that, right? But then I start seeing newspaper articles in the Riverside, I think it was the Enterprise Express or some newspaper like that, right? And I'm reading stuff on it, and I'm like, oh, man, Jimmy was like that, and it's all bad now. Now, in my mind, as a criminal, my loyalties to Jimmy, they're out for that guy snitching on him. But they're still fully in with them doing this rape. Now I want to harm both of them. So I continue the spree after the first one. I'm still hunting him down. And
esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
And I'm never able to to get him. Like, I'm never able to physically harm this man. Like, he ends up here, he ends up there, and finally he ends up in a Casablanca tank with all the gang members from Casablanca, and probably through the influence and the power of his uncles or his cousins or all them people, they're not touching him, and they're kind of like protecting him and saying he had no involvement in that he's not going to go down for that, right? They're trying to put all the blame on the other guy. And then we're going to skip, because I don't get to get him in the county jail. So we're going to skip all that and move forward to where, when I'm with Trey again, and then I have to go get sentenced. Like, this is my sentencing date. This is the date that they're going to tell me I get life. And I've been ready for this date since I got busted, because I've always been like a realist, right? In juvenile hall, you will have all kinds of kids talking about, oh, I'm going to go home, I'm going to do this, and I will be the one to, the rotten apple right there. I'll be like, how are you going to do that if you're busted for this? And they'll be like, oh, we're going to get out. And I'm like, man, these fools are lost. We all got life. We all got handcuffs to put on us. We're in juvenile hall. They're not letting us out again. So when I go to the county, I have the same mentality, and some inmates get mad at you when you're that real, because here I am with 2 hung juries before I go to the third one, and everyone's talking about how they're going to beat their case, and reality is starting to set into me now. And it's like, if I'm not going home, I know I'm not going home, and I got 2 hung juries. You're not going home either. And they will get mad and say, don't say that, don't say that. So now we're in the future, where I lost the third trial. I go to court, and when I go to court, these tanks, they're like deep. They're like, I want to say, I can't remember the number, but let's just pretend it's 10. There's 10 different holding tanks, and you go down one hallway, and there's like 5 to the right and 5 to the left. And in these tanks, they put in all kinds of inmates from everywhere. Not your own where you live, but everyone's coming in from everywhere. All jails are coming in. And in the county, we have 5 jails. So you're getting people from Southwest, you're getting people from Old Jail, New Jail. You might even get somebody from Brandon, who knows? But you're getting, it's a mixture. And at this time, I had built my reputation with so many fights and so many things that I'm not saying, that everyone kind of knew who I was at this point. And I've always had close ties because of my first friend from Elsinore. After his homeboys, after he came to prison, he got his life in prison. His homeboys that would come, I would be like, oh, I know your homeboy. And then we would reestablish tight bonds with all of them. So all of his gang, they loved me, and I loved them, like brothers. So I have been into incidences that I'm not mentioning with 3 individuals from Elsinore in other parts of the jail, helping them, backing them up, them backing me up, stuff like that, right? So I'm in the courts waiting to get sentenced, and I got 3 Elsinore heads right here, and they're cousins. All 3 of them are cousins, and they're all from the hood. And I go in, and so I automatically go with them because these are my tight buddies. And when I go with them, they're telling me, like, hey, that white guy over there? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, he's a snitch. He told on the homeboy, da-da-da-da-da. And they're telling me this, and I have like an epiphany here, right? Because they're telling me this. And it dawns on me, like, why are you telling me this, right? And it dawns on me, like, okay, they're telling me this because they know what I'm going to do. So then I'm looking at them, for the first time in my life, I'm looking at them like, you guys are cowards. You guys are straight up cowards. And I don't verbalize this, but I do snap at them. And I'm like, oh yeah, he did that to your homeboy? And they're like, yeah, and they're all pumped up. And I'm like, why the fuck are you telling me that for? And they just look at me, and I'm like, I'm from Elsinore? And they look, and they're like confused because they never seen this kind of response from me, because it's always been all love, and I always got your back. And now I'm throwing it at their face like, he told on your homeboy. You guys are from that hood. Why the hell are you telling me? Like, shouldn't you be doing something here? And I don't say that, but I say that without saying it, right, with the things I told them. And I look at them, I give them a mean look, and I just get up and walk away. And when I walk away, like, I don't know what these guys are thinking. I don't know if they're like, damn, that fool checked us right now, Or I don't know if they're like, damn, that didn't go the way we wanted it to go. I don't know what they're thinking. I can't get in their heads, right? But I'm in my head. And now I'm like, these fools, they're fucking weak. And I'm over here, and I'm squeezing out of my chains, because when you go to court, you're in chains, and you're handcuffed, and the handcuffs are to the chains around your waist. And when you get cuffed up, prior to this, like when you're on the wall and all the cops got all the inmates, and they're like, get on the wall, face forward. They're putting this chain around your waist and around your wrist, right? You put your buns out. You push out as far as you can with your stomach. Your buns out your stomach, right? You push out as far as you can, so the chain could be somewhat loose on you. And the cops, they're smart, so they try to go around it, and you're trying to push out like, no, I really weigh this much, right? So long story short, I do this every time I go to court, because you never know when you're going to need these chains. And for the audience that don't know, these chains are weapons. Like, I'm squeezing out of my chains, pushing them past my hips and my butt. And I do this when I leave Elsinore, guys. Like, I walked away, and this tank is deep, so they can't even see what I'm doing. There's, like, all kinds of individuals standing up, white, Mexican, and black, and if there's any Asians in there, they're in there. And I squeeze out of these chains, and now they're at my ankles. My wrists are at my ankles, and I'm stepping out of them. And I come walking back up. And I don't even tell the homies that told me he was a rat, that told me he was a snitch. I don't even tell them what I'm going to do, because I'm so pissed off at them that they told me this. And maybe I'm pissed off because I'm about to get sentenced today, right? This is my last time going to court, and this is the stupid things I'm doing. I go walk over there, and when I walk over there, like, they could see me now. Now I'm in their eye view, and I walk past them, and I'm walking to the white boy. And now maybe their little hearts are cheering now, like, oh man, he's gonna, whatever they're thinking, whatever they're thinking. Like, I snap back. I might have been mad at them, but now I'm back, your friend. And I tell that white boy, he's talking to another white guy, and I'm like, hey fool, hey, you're from Elsinore, ain't you? And he's like, yeah, whoa. And I'm like, so and so, and that's the guy they told me he ratted on. So when I say that, he's like he don't know what to say, and I don't even give him a chance to say nothing. I'm like, you ratted on him? You a fucking snitch? And I go crazy on this dude verbally for a brief 3 seconds or whatever. And he's like, no. And I just swing back like if I have a baseball bat. This chain is literally an inmate's baseball bat. At the end of the chain, there is a lock. And I swing this chain on him, and I hit him with the lock. And now everyone that's close to this area, it's packed like sardines. But packed sardines will figure out how to squeeze with each other on the other side of the tank and not get hit with this crazy man's chain that's flying, So I'm swinging the chain at him, and I'm just hitting him repeatedly. And the homies from Elsinore, they didn't prepare in time, so their chains ain't even off. So all three of them get in, and their little feet are kicking him, and like, you rat on my homeboy, bitch, and we're just hitting them, and I'm like, this is what happens to snitches, this is what happens to punks, like, you're a fucking rat, you don't ever, and I'm verbally abusing him and physically abusing him at the same time. And eventually, the other tank across is probably looking at this tank because they got windows on them. So they're probably looking at everyone packed by sardines by the windows, and that's like a key, like, oh, something's going on in that tank. Oh, these fools are giving someone the business over there, right? So eventually the cops, you could hear them coming down the hallway, and now these sardines, like, I'm making my way to, there's one sink and one toilet in the thing, right? So I'm making my way to the toilet, and the sink, it'll take too long. So I just dump the whole chains in the toilet, boom, 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 and then I pull them out, and next thing you know, the doors open, and the cops are spraying everywhere. They don't care who was involved or anything. Like, this is the incident that happened in the tank. They're spraying everything up. They don't even know what the hell just happened in here. And I don't know where Elsinore's, the three individuals are at, but I know I'm over here trying to dip my chains in case they got any blood on them. And now I'm squeezing back in the chains, and as a convict, right? None of these guys know me, and none of these guys know if this story's even true. All they know is I called him a rat, and I was hitting him with my chains. That's all they know. But as a convict, and this is with the cops spraying and talking shit. And this is not like prison where you get down. This tank is too small. Everyone's still standing up. So as a convict, every black and Mexican and white guy that is near me, they automatically get in front of me. You know, they're making me a blind spot from the cop. They're making me a shield because in their heart of hearts, they're like, I'm a criminal too, and this is my fellow criminal. And we might not know him, but he did some G-ass shit right now, and we're going to protect him. So they're all blocking, and this is there's other people blocked just natural, being how crowded it is. But when you're putting on the chains, you could see the little feet steps moving in front of you, you know? You could see them, and you're like, okay, good looking out. And you don't say it, but in your mind you think it, right? And I put my chains on, and I don't get caught, and they end up taking like a lot of people out the tank. They leave probably like 7 people in the tank, and now they're separating the.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
All they do know is that this poor white boy was assaulted, you know? So they take.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
They take him out, and they take him to medical or wherever they're going to take him. And they're just trying to disperse all of us. So they're mixing all of us up with the other crowds. And when you do that, now you're with other people, and they're like, what happened in the tank? And again, you know, people that do know who I am, they're like, oh, he got off on so-and-so for being, and it just adds to the legacy, to the warped legacy that I was trying to build for myself at that time. And at this time, I'm not even trying to build it no more because I feel like I've surpassed whatever I was trying to build, you know? But these are the things that kind of follow you to prison. These are the things that, like, when someone looks at you when you come to prison, they're like, oh, that's the homie. That's the homeboy right there. Hey, fool, that fool's down. We want him with us, you know? And that happened at sentencing date. Now, when I call back, I'm going to talk more about this.
All right, so he should be calling us back shortly. As soon as he calls back, then we'll go ahead and continue. And for anybody that's new here, these calls are actually taking place real time and they are live. So if you have any questions, you know, feel free to go ahead and, you know, drop those questions or comments in the chat, and I'll go ahead and try the best of my ability to go ahead and read off those messages. I tend to do that during the when we're reconnecting a new call. I'll go ahead and take the opportunity to read off any comments or any questions. And that tends to work. There we go.
This call is now being
Esta es
recorded.
Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tel-Link.
Hello?
Hello? Yeah.
We're back on.
Okay, so I'll continue right now. And you know, this day still has to happen. Like, this incident might have happened in the morning, but it doesn't change nothing with court, right? Everyone still has to go to court. So eventually, I think my courtroom was 61, courtroom 61 in Riverside County Jail. And I go up there, and it's me, and it's probably like, I want to say 9 other inmates, and we're in the jury box. That's where they place us once we go to court. And everyone's in there, and they're doing what you do at court. They're postponing, they're doing this, they're doing that. But my day is special because my day I'm going to get sentenced. This is the last one, you know, like, this is the big one. I got found guilty already. I'm going to get sentenced. And eventually everyone in this jury box with me, they're getting their stuff out the way, and they're saving me for last. But I don't know this, you know? I guess it's probably protocol when you get sentenced. You save that inmate for last, looking back at it now. So I'm the last one in there, and then I get sentenced, and they're reading, you know, or maybe they're not reading. Maybe the judge is just saying what's off of her, the tip of her mind, right? But she's like, you know, you don't deserve to ever get out again. And she's saying all these things, like, you're going to die in prison. And I get it. With the time they're giving, everyone knows you don't get off a life sentence. You never come home from that. in California. This is 1997. You could get 1 to life, and you will never be let out. This is how drastic it is, and I know that. So they give me over 30 years, and they tell me I'm never coming home, and I'm walking away with 2 life sentences. And I'm in the courtroom, so I'm still holding faith. And I don't know I'm holding faith at the time, but I'm still that badass little boy that's not going to show you just hurt me, you know? So when I go to the elevator, usually the cops take you up and down. Well, they let me go down by myself. I'm the last inmate. The cop's lazy or whatever. They just go to the elevator. You stand in the elevator, and then it'll open. They'll say through like a monitor, like, go in, through a speaker. And you go in, and the door shuts. And I remember when that door shut, I felt so hurt. And I felt so hurt because I'm playing the victim right here. Like, I'm not taking no responsibility for the crime I did. I'm not taking no responsibility for my actions because I think I'm just living my life. But this thing is so hard that as hard as I was, it hurt me. And I'm like, shit, and my eyes get watery, and I can't even say how I felt. That's how ugly I felt. And then the elevator stops, and the doors are about to open. And in my mind, I'm like, shake that shit off, fool. Shake that shit off. You're a fucking man. You're a fucking G. You fucking did all this. Like, that's it. And the mask goes back up. And if I have any watery eyes, I'm trying desperately to, like, don't look at me like that. And I'm so worried about my eyes and my look, and I'm like dogging now, and I'm not dogging nobody. I'm not mad dogging nobody because the doors are barely going to open. But I'm pumping myself up like you had this weak-ass moment right now. And we're not supposed to have those. As a man, you're not supposed to have that shit. So get rid of it. And the doors open, and I remember I swallowed air. Like I took a breath, like, and that's it. And now I'm walking hard as a motherfucker. Because back in those days, I had a swing to my walk. It used to be with swagger. And I probably learned that walk in the county because I don't remember thinking I was so hard on the streets. But you see other fools and you see other fools that you might respect, and they gotta walk to them, and in time you'll start emulating that shit. You'll be like, yeah, well, I know what I'm about, and I know what I'm doing, and it's about time I have my own walk. So at this time it's developed already. At this time it's already there. It's 100% in me, and I'm doing this normal walk that I'm thinking is normal. And ain't nobody in the tanks, bro. Like, court is over. Everybody's back at their cells. I'm the last one. So that gave me some kind of relief, like, oh man, at least I didn't have to feel like no eyes on me, And I went back to the tank, and they're like, what happened? Like, everybody knows I got broke off, and that's what you call it. You call it, you're gonna get broke off right now. And they're like, man, how much did they break you off? And I'm like, it don't even matter, fool. I'm not coming home, And that's it. And then I catch the chain. That's what we call a transfer to La Pinta. I'm gonna start calling it La Pinta because I heard they get mad too in the first 5 minutes of you saying something. So I'm gonna try to change up my lingo and call it La Pinta. Okay, so I'm coming up, and they take you like in the middle of the night, and they another part that I didn't mention is in the county jail. It's very degrading. Like, this is the part that's degrading. You go to court, you get naked all the time, and you're with like 30 other fools that are naked, and the cops are like, they're doing their searches or whatever. But as a man, I always felt degraded getting naked. I always felt, there's no other way to say it. I felt degraded. I felt ashamed. I felt like you're just a piece of meat. And I know they have to do their job. I'm just explaining how I felt. Maybe no other inmate feels like this, but I definitely felt like that. And so when you transfer out, you got to go through this process again, and you get naked, and you're on the walls, and you're walking down hallways naked with boxes in your hands of the clothes you're gonna wear on the bus, and in time you start hardening.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
But no matter how you harden up to that, it's still a degrading thing to go through. And I go to the tank, and we're all putting our clothes on, and everyone's talking about, because everyone's, they've been to prison. Some of these people have been to prison before, so they're all happy they're going back to prison, which I find odd. Even looking back at it now, and now it's an odd thing to be happy to go to prison, but they're happy that they're going to get out of the county jail and go to prison and go get a stupid little TV, right? That's what they're happy about. Like, I would think you'd be happy when you go to the streets, when you got a job, when you're working. And my belief system's all retarded right here, so who am I to talk about them being happy for a TV, right? So we get on the bus, and I remember I want to see everything. This was my mind frame. I want to see everything because I didn't think you transfer from La Pinta to La Pinta. I didn't think it worked like that. I thought it was just one place and you stay there forever and die. Like, that's how naive I am. And we come up, and we get to La Pinta, and it's Tehachapi. And it snows in Tehachapi. It looks like, I never been to like a Colorado or like a snowy place like that, right? But I picture that when I see Tehachapi. It's snow on the ground. It's probably like 5 inches deep. There's snow on the trees. There's snow on the houses. It looks like Santa Claus lives here. And it looks so cool and so amazing. And I'm from Southern California. I never seen this before. And I'm like, damn, the world's beautiful. And you ain't seen nothing, So we get off this bus. Wearing those same stupid chains that you wear at court. They're around the waist, and now I got some on my ankles. And you have no boxers on. You have no socks. You have a jumpsuit, no T-shirt. No nothing to keep you warm. So when we get up there, and it's cold, and there's drips of water coming off of the ice from the roof and all that, and there's streams of water from where the snow's melting. And you have to walk in the snow, and you have chanclas, you have sandals. So your feet are like all exposed to the cold. And I'm shaking. I'm shaking so much like an old beat up dog that needs a loving home, That's how bad I'm shaking. And in my mind, I'm telling myself, stop shaking, fool. They're going to think you're scared. And I'm still scared to show I'm scared. Now, I'm not scared of of like being beat up. I'm okay with myself on that aspect. I'm like, I can handle anything. But, I'm just cold right here. But I think that these other inmates are going to see me shaking, and I think they're going to think I'm scared. And I don't want them to think that. And then we go into this building, and it looks massive to me. It looks so big. And they put us in cages. And in the cages, the inmates that are walking around with brooms, they're looking at us, and they're in like blue Levi pants and a blue shirt, and we're in orange jumpsuit, looking all crackhead out. And they're throwing like a glove, like picture a glove. You get a glove and you put tobacco in it and you tie it. And they're throwing those in the tanks where we're at. And people are picking them up, and they're like, "Oh, thank you." And they're like, "Don't trip. There'll be more when you get in here." And they're giving tobacco because at this time they sold tobacco on the line. So they see the new guys coming, and they're giving us tobacco. Like, here, get your smoke on. And everybody's smoking, and I don't smoke. So the smell was always disgusting to me, right? And I'm seeing all this, and I see a prison tower. And I'm seeing no warning shots. Remember, I can't read. I can't read right here, bro. But I'm trying to. I'm trying to learn how to read. And either someone says it or I read it. And I'm like, no warning shots. I'm like, I've never seen that in the county. And then you see the prison guard up there with the gun, and he's holding a Mini 14. And to the audience, that looks like a big rifle, right? It looks like a big black rifle. No brown wood on it, right? But it looks heavy duty. It looks like I would not want to get shot by that, you know? And I remember being scared at that moment. I remember seeing that guy in the tower, and this is my first time seeing.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
This is my first time seeing a tower, and my first time being in prison, and those no warning signs, they have them everywhere. So I'm like, oh shit, like this is it. This is it, you know? And it takes us like a whole day to get processed. So we're in those tanks forever. And then they put me in a cell, and I'm in the cell alone. And this is the building that you get off the bus, you go to this building. And in time, they'll take you from this building to another building. Now, they bring my first cellmate, and he's out of San Bernardino County, and he got 3 life sentences. And he comes in with an attitude. So I'm already thinking, like, I'm a pluck this fool off right now. Like, fool, you're going to be in a world of hurt. He's a little kid like me. And I'm just thinking in my head, like, yeah, I'm going to get this fool. We're in the cell maybe like 2 hours with each other when I'm thinking this. And then he tells me, how much time you got, fool? And I'm like, I got 2 life sentences. And I got this much years, you know? And he's like, oh, so his attitude lightens up now. And I'm like, what's up, fool? How much time you got? And he's like, I got 3 life sentences. I'm busted at 16. And I'm like, oh, I'm busted at 17. So now we're relating. Now we're becoming friends. And now we're liking each other. But he came in because he had this attitude, and he developed this attitude in the county. It's taught behavior because it was taught to me, and I thought I had to run with it. And it was taught to him, and he's still running with it. But I kind of let it go by this time. That if you're an inmate and you're going home as a lifer, like, I don't want to hear that shit because I'm never going home. So don't be dancing around in this cell like you're going to do this and that when you get out, because that's going to piss me off. Now, I was victim to that too. I developed that attitude too. I just shook it off like by this time, you know?
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
I definitely went through my phase where I was telling people that. And the reason you tell people that is because you want to feel higher than them. You want to feel better about yourself. And you don't realize that when you're that young, but that's all it is. You're hurting, and you want to feel better about your circumstances. You want to, any way you can feel better, you want to help your self-esteem, you know, because it's so low. And so me and this guy become friends. And he ends up being my cellmate 3 times in my history of prison. And again, my loyalties go to him, and his loyalties come to me. We're just feeding off each other's that situation and encouraging each other with negative stuff and violence. And I remember, I'm going to tell you when I...
All right, so you know he's going through his journey. He just recently hit a state prison reception, and this is like the reality of things. You know, when you go to prison, and a lot of people, you know, tend not to, you know, share the emotional, you know, side of, you know, going through these things. You know, ultimately, you know, he took a young lady's life, Angel, and now he's facing those consequences with 2 life sentences.
This call is now being recorded.
Esta es Global Tellink. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tellink.
Hello.
Hello?
All right.
Yeah. Okay. I remember them. I said this before, and I'm restating it now so the crowd could remember it. I remember everybody being so concerned with me. when it was time for my county time to stop, right? They were all telling me the same thing. No matter where I went in the court case, they were like, "You can't be the person you were here. You gotta slow down. You gotta stop. You're gonna crash and burn." Now I'm in La Pinta, and I'm like, all that stuff they were telling me, I'm remembering it. I'm remembering everybody who told me that, and I'm like, okay, fool, you gotta listen to them. You just gotta listen to them. Something in me knew what they were telling me was the truth, and something in me knew like you better pay attention to that truth. So at this time, I don't know when you go to reception center that it's not considered La Pinta yet because there's no rules. It's just kick back. Nobody wants to commit violence. Like you're just streaming through until you get there. And at this time, all I want to do is commit violence. All I want to do is hurt people. That's all I want to do. Because I'm like, you took my life away. You gave me this time. I was only 17 years old. And when I look back, it's just victim stance. I'm the victim, I'm the victim, I'm the victim. And that was far from the case. But I'm saying this to show you how I was thinking at the time. So when they moved me out this first block into a block where everyone's at, one of my first questions, and I'm hungry for this, right? So one of my first questions is like, hey, where are the people from up north, And you know what? As I refer to them, I'm just going to start calling them the homies from up north. Because in time, there's friendships there too, But at this time, it's a taught behavior. Like they're teaching us in the county, guys from up north are your enemies. We're the deepest of enemies. Your job is to hurt these people. And I want to say something for the audience. Like when you're in Southern California on the streets, people from Northern California are not your enemies. Like this is like a top behavior when you go to county jail. It's like a prison thing. Because on the streets we don't care about nobody else. We don't look at nobody else and say, hey, this is our side and that's your side. We don't do that on the streets, Like that's something that's learned and taught as you come in custody. And I say that because it's different for them. Because on the streets up north, they kind of view a certain people like the enemy because they're having feuds up there and they're doing this and that. But from a Southern California little kid's perspective, I want you to know that you were never enemies of us, of any of us, But when we come to jail, they teach us this. And when you come to La Pinta, they teach us that, right? So when I come to reception center, I'm asking, there's older people there, older homies, and I'm like, hey, who where they at? Where they all at? And they're looking at me laughing, like, what's up with this little kid? And they're like, hey, let me ask you something. What do you think these guys look like? And I'm like, I don't know, fool. That's why I'm telling you to point them out to me. And he's like, they look like you, and they look like me. He's like, they're Mexicans. And I'm like, huh? And it doesn't make sense to me because all this time when you're being taught, like you kind of bypass who these individuals are. You're looking at the...
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
You're looking at them almost like an alien you never seen before, right? An alien in outer space that you never seen before. And he breaks it down to me, and I feel so stupid. And I'm like, and I don't question why we fight them. I just more along the lines, I feel stupid that I didn't know, And he goes, relax. There's none of them here. And even if there was, this is reception. This was the term that they were saying all the time. This is reception. We don't do that here. And I'm like, okay. And I see guys doing pull-ups. And all the homies do like 10 pull-ups when they do pull-ups, And they go to canteen, and I'm seeing all this for the first time. So all this is new to me. And when they do pull-ups, I'm going to say this as we go along, guys. I couldn't read. So when I was a little kid on the streets, I would act impulsively. And impulsively is like spur of the moment. Like, who's going to do that? And I'll jump in front of the crowd and do that. And I would always do that. I didn't know at the time, but I learned later. I was doing that because I was scared any of my friends put me out that I couldn't read. Everybody would look at me like I was less than them, because that's how I felt inside. I felt less than all my peers because all my peers could read and I couldn't, right? So when I go to prison, when I go to La Pinta, I see guys doing pull-ups, and I tell myself, you're going to be better than them. If they do 10, you're doing 12. You're doing 13. You're doing 15. And in time, when we're working out and we do pull-ups, everybody will do 10, 10, 10, 10. And when I go up there, I do 15. Boom, 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 boom. And that's my way of trying to even myself out. That's my way of trying to make us equals. Because you might look at me better than you just from the outside appearance, but inside my body, I know I'm less than you. I feel I'm less than you. I feel like I'm trying to keep up with all these other people. And that's the only way I can make myself feel good about myself, was doing more pull-ups than you. So I would do that. And I would do the same thing with push-ups in time. If you're doing 25, I want to do 30. If you're doing 40, I want to do 50. So I'm not telling nobody this, but these are things I'm doing when I'm going. And I told everybody, you can't do things to other races, right? So I get lucky. I get extremely lucky in prison and in reception center. Before I tell you about that luck, because there's something that happens before that, right? So I'm sitting around, and I remember being like 2 months in to reception. And I'm seeing so many things go wrong that the county, like, we kind of set a baseline for rules and things you do and things you don't do. So I'm still used to those. So I'm still used to enforcing those. And here I am holding myself back because everyone's like, you can't be like that. You got to follow orders. You got to wait for instruction. And they gave me all those warnings. I see an older gentleman. They were drinking in the cell, and he beats the heck out of a younger, like a 22-year-old kid, right? And this guy's been in prison before, and in my mind, I'm like, he should know better. This guy should know better. So he beat this fool bad, and I feel bad for this little guy from Pacoima. And he goes, and the cops break it up and everything, and he had put his boots on, and he was stomping him in the head and chest, like he was going to town on this fool. And I'm like mad at this. So then I don't have no weapons right here. I don't have nothing. And when that guy got out,
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
I remember walking to him and telling him, like pulling him aside and telling him, hey man, I barely know you. I don't know you good, you know, but that was wrong. I'm your friend, and I'm going to go stab this guy with you, you know? And this guy, like, he's not ready for that, and I don't know that yet. So this guy just wants to let it go. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, this fool's not even a man. Like, he don't even want to defend his honor. And then at the same time, in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm not going to help this guy that don't want to help himself. But I still had a problem with old boy that did that to him. The only thing is I don't really know how to politic. I don't even know that word yet. And I want revenge, but I don't know how to get it. So he becomes an automatic target in my head, like, you're a bad guy, and I'm going to get you. I just don't know how. So moving forward, somebody knows how to make a knife in there, and I don't know how to make a knife yet. So long story short, he teaches me. And then when he leaves, I've been in this reception center for like 2 months, 2.5 months, and I can't believe everything that's going on wrong right here. And I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of waiting, and my old self comes out of me. I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of doing this. Like, they told me man, this place is out of control. It's time for the sheriff to put this thing back in order. So I started making knives. And we used to get a tattoo that said, trust no woman, for a better word, right? In Asian writing. I don't know if it was Chinese writing, Korean writing. I don't know what writing it was, but it would be like, trust no woman, you know? And homies will get that tat on them. So I say that because when I start making these knives, I start sharpening them on the concrete on the floor. And out of nowhere, my floor starts looking like Chinese writing because every sharp is a different knife, you know. So we're starting to make these things, and I'm like, man, these cops are going to get a trip out of this cell when they come in here because the floor is looking jacked up like that. And then when I will make the knife, the last part of the knife is, you know, the handle. You know, if it's not a full strap of metal, which you would learn later on in the future, but if it's not a full strap of metal, you put a handle on it, right? And you could do this in various different ways, but I will make the knife, and then I'll roll up the mattress. And, you know, me and my celly will stab this mattress like 20 times, like go crazy on it. And then if the knife don't break, we deem it worthy. Okay, this is battle tested. This will hurt somebody in real life. Because sometimes you do the mattress and it breaks, and you do away with it. And so the point I'm trying to make here is that now I'm strapped up. Now I'm feeling more gung-ho. I'm feeling more out with it. I'm feeling more like, I've been here 2 months, and I've been listening to the older homies, and I think they're full of it, you know? I think they were just saying that now. And I have a knife on me, and a homie, an older homie, he's like a 30-year-old man, and I'm like 19, and I think the homie with me is like 20. And the homie with me looks like a straight gangster. He got a tattoo on his neck. It's a big eye buster. It's just like the hood. And he looks the image 100%, you know? And the older homie wants a watch, and it's on a white guy. And he goes, man, I got to figure out a way to get that watch. And he walks off and goes in the shower. Now, my dumb ass, in my head, I want to impress the older homie. Like, I'm like, well, that's our homie. How are we not going to get him his watch, you know? So I tell the guy next to me, the gangbanger, the fool that looks like Thug Nation 101, right? I tell him, hey, fool, let's go get this watch for homeboy. He's like, how are we gonna do that? I go, well, look, I'm just gonna poke him. I'm gonna poke him in the stomach just so that they know we holding heat. And if he tries to run, I just want you to stand up because you look the image, fool. You know, you're like a spitting image of what fear should look like. And he's like, all right. There is a tower. Keep in mind, there is a tower right up that's there to protect everybody. And in reception, these towers, they hold that gun like if it's really about that life every day, they hold this gun. So we walk like under the tower close to him, and there's like benches where everybody's watching TV and his white boy's watching TV. And I sit on the right-hand side of him on the bench. And he kind of just looks over and looks straight at TV again. And then the homie sits on the other side. So then I pull out this knife I have, and I'm hiding it with my arm. Like I put my arm on top of my arm. So I'm clutching it, the handle, but I'm holding the outside shank of it, like the knife part of it. It's getting hidden by my arm from the tower. And then I kind of scoot next to that white boy a little bit. And most people, by the way, most criminals will detect this. But this guy is, you know, he's probably first time in prison too, and he don't detect what's going on. His radar is not going off. And I go, and he's like, he don't do nothing. And I'm like, I thought that would be the signal for the other homie to like, this is going to go down. So I poke him with the knife, like in the stomach area. Like the little tap, like boom, like a wake-up call. And he like, whoa, he looks to me and he like stands up. So I stand up and then he looks to the other side because he's about to jet. And
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
He's between both of us. And he don't know what the hell's going on, but he knows his danger, and he don't know to jump over the bench because there's people in front of him and people like in back of him, and we're blocking off his only exits. And I tell him, hey, fool, come out that watch. And he don't understand when I tell him what I mean. Like he's like, huh? And I'm like, hey, fool, work yourself off that watch. And I think I'm talking English to this guy, and he's confused. He don't know what's going on, right? This is a robbery in prison that I'm trying to do. It's a failed attempt, but I'm trying to do it to give something to one of my older homies to be like, hey, look, fool, you wanted that watch, we got you, right? And when this is going down, I could see the panic in him, and he looks like he wants to tell the cop in the tower with the gun. And I'm like, fool, if you say anything, you got a fat, juicy.
I think this is the first time that I ever hear one of our guests talking about a robbery in prison. Just from Yeah, pretty much. I think this is the first time I ever hear about a robbery. Definitely, has me at the on the edge of my seat over here. And I'm gonna double check right now when he comes back. I'm gonna ask him if he committed any robberies in the street, because I know previous on his previous
This call is now being
Este es
recorded.
Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tel-Link.
Hello?
Joe. Hey,
Yeah.
I got two questions for you. The first one's coming from
Okay.
me. So, on the previous journeys that you had gone through with us, I don't recall
Yeah.
you mentioning you committing any 211s or any strong robberies or robberies. So on the
Yeah.
street, were you committing robberies?
No, I wasn't, and that's what I want to talk about right here. This is they have something in TGA called obsession compulsion progression, right? And that's like you obsess over something and you start doing it, right? Like if I obsess over money enough and I'm having guns in my life enough, that turns into a bank robbery, right? So when I get this life sentence and I know I'm doing life, I never robbed nobody on the streets ever in my life. I never did this in the county jail, ever. You know, this is the older homie wants to watch. He's like, how do I get it? He wasn't even referring to that. Later on, when I go to the store, he was talking about trading him something out of the package for the watch. But I didn't know that. And I want to impress this individual so much that I'm like, oh, I'll get the watch. He's in the shower. By the time he gets out of the shower, we're going to have the watch, and he's going to be so happy with us. He's going to be like, oh, these fools are my homeboys, right? Because another thing I'm being taught when I come to prison is like, forget your homeboys on the streets. They are not your friends no more. The guy that has life next to you, that's your homeboy. Because this is the guy that's going to be here in all the riots. This is the guy that's going to save your life. This is the guy you're going to grow old with and die with, right? So this is a teaching that is being, and I'll talk more about it, like as we go into more deeper into how to be like.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
Like when I'm actually teaching it to other inmates, and it's something you do not share with somebody that got 20 years that's going to go home. Like you could have did a crime and you could have 30 years in prison like you're going to do. But as a lifer, we won't share that conversation with you because there's more to that than just that. It goes deeper than that. But it is like a lifer to a lifer teaching, and it's all criminal, you know. And it might be logic if your distorted beliefs are right there still, right? But when you look back at it, you could see like you could see all the hurt in people for even a tradition to be passed down like that, right? And what I don't know. Oh, you had another question. Let me ask that one before I go.
Okay, and the second question is going to be actually been asked by within our chat, and this is going to be from Aquatic Amigo, and he's asking, does he remember what hood the kid from Pacoma was from?
I don't, but I remember it was. I was so sad to see him get beat like that, you know. And when I'm telling stories about the county jail, we're beating people up, we're physically assaulting them. Like in our war belief system, they did something wrong. Like we're just not vandalizing, we're just not committing crime. It's like if you do this, you're gonna get this punishment. What that little guy did, he didn't do nothing wrong. So in my heart of hearts, I'm like, that was wrong. You know, that guy had no justification to do that to his cellmate. So because of that, I automatically take the stance with him. And when he don't want to do nothing back, I don't forget what the cellmate did. I just like in my mind back then, I looked at him like, "Oh, you're a punk, dude. You're not a man because you don't want to get back." But I still had the hatred for the other guy because I'm like, "Oh, you think you got over? Well, this ain't done. I don't know how I'm gonna get you, but this ain't done." So I'm still holding it within myself to try to control the situation, right? And even when I'm trying to rob this guy, and by the way, the guy broke away from us and he ran to the wood pile and he went to tell them, but they're by the cops and we panic out. I give the knife to my friend and he puts it in the cell and they flush it, and he don't tell the cops, but he goes and tells the white guys. But I'll continue that story later. But man, I forgot my train of thought right now. What I was gonna say. But I'm evolving as a criminal. I'm evolving as a lifer, and it is going in the negative way. You know, I'm going down the stream with everyone else, and again, I'm trying to race past people. You know, I'm trying to swim faster. Was there any other questions, James?
No, that was the two questions so far, and I really appreciate you taking the time to go ahead and answer those questions for us, and then I'll go ahead and let you continue with the story when this guy ends up running off.
When this happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so he runs off and he's telling the we call the white people woodpile at this time in prison. Like, that's the woodpile. So the homie comes out, and me and the homie that did this, we're playing chess now. Now we're playing chess in the day room. And the older homie comes back, and the older homie is from Verdugo. That's like a big gang in San Bernardino County. And he comes back, he's like, "Hey, what's up, dude? What you guys doing? You know, woo, whatever." And we're like, "Oh, nothing, fool." And we're talking, and the homie's looking at me, but the homie's serious. Like, he looks like Thug Nation 101, you know? And so he don't even smile at me like normal people would, like smile at me like, "Tell this fool," you know? He just looks at me serious, and I'm looking back. And I'm like, "Hey, fool, by the way, you know that watch you wanted?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, we tried to get it for you, fool, but we couldn't do it, you know? Like, it just went bad, fool." And he's like, "Huh?" He's laughing. He's like, "How do you guys try to get it?" And I tell him the story, and his face turns white. And he's like, "What the And I'm like, "What? You said you wanted it, fool. You said you wanted the watch. We tried to..." And he goes, "You can't be... Are you fucking stupid?" And I'm like, "Nah, fool. Like, oh, come on." And he's like, "Where's the..." And I go, "Over there." And all those woods are looking at us. So now it's 3 Mexicans on the table, and it's about maybe like 10 woods over there looking at us with the other wood we tried to jack, right? And this fool's like, "What the fuck?" So he says, "You two motherfuckers stay here and don't you move." And we're like, "Okay." And, he walks by himself to the woods. And he explains to them, like, "Hey, we apologize, man. My two little homies are stupid. They're just coming to prison. They don't know no better. I mentioned I had wanted that watch, and I mentioned I wanted to get it. But I mentioned it like you guys know, like maybe I could buy it off of him. Maybe I could buy him a pair of shoes for it. Maybe I could send him some money for it. Like, I'm thinking of bartering, of trading, of giving him something for the watch, not taking it. Well, my little homies misinterpreted my speech, and they thought it would be a nice surprise to come get the watch, and when I get out of the shower, have it for me. And the white boys, I mean, they had to be the coolest white boys because they thought that was funny, They thought like, "Oh, these stupid fools," but they thought it was humorous. And it was all love. And when the homie came back, he told us how bad we had fucked up and how severe it was to do something so stupid like that, right? Like, this is one of the most severe things you could do in prison to get yourself fucked off. You will get stabbed. You will get, you don't know how long the stabbings will follow you. Like, I dodged a bullet here, guys. I dodged a bullet. And that was, when I look back, I don't know, man. Like, I dodged a bullet, and I was extremely, extremely lucky to have dodged this bullet. And so now I know, the seriousness of doing anything with another race. Now it's set in me. Now I'm not just saying it and knowing it. Now it's like installed in me, like, oh shit, like, man, I messed up. And that will never happen again, because the homie's telling me, like, fool, you're lucky. And that progression, it happened. It's the last time I ever tried to rob anybody in prison, but I was going deeper into it, no matter which way you look at it. And then I don't even get to leave reception like everyone else. With me making knives like that, it introduced a new element to that reception center, and people started getting shoe terms, and I ended up getting a shoe term. And at this time, I'm into Tehachapi Reception Center, so I go to Tehachapi. I don't even know what a 180 is yet, but it's a 180, right? And they got me in the hole. And at this point in time, there's only two shoes. It's Corcoran shoe, and it is a Pelican Bay shoe. So now I know I'm going to Corcoran, because you go to Corcoran first, and if you have long enough time, they will eventually take you to Pelican Bay. So I'm on my journey, and I'm in the hole, and now I'm being introduced to a new side of prison. I was working out in the county jail, but working out in prison is it's more militant, right? It's burpees, it's squats, it's shoulder exercises. Like you're doing a full body routine, and you're doing that routine because it's like you're a soldier in the army. Like if all the white boys are big and buff, well, as Mexicans, you guys have to try to get big and buff too to keep up in the hand-to-hand combat, man for man. And the blacks are all big and right, so everybody's respected cars does routines. Now, usually it's always in the back when you're in the hole or when you're in the shoe. But this is the first time I'm going to the hole, and I'm waiting on it. I got a shoe term. I'm waiting to go to the shoe. So I'm getting introduced to this workout, and when I get introduced to it, like I fall in love with it, because to me it's tough guy 101 right here. This is what it's about. This is what I've been waiting for. And now I got a whole army with me. Like it feels good to me at this time, and I'm submerging myself deeper within the gangs, right? And right here we're taught that guys from the north are your enemies and that, and we're taught like PCs are your enemies, and I go to my first ad seg, and you check like people want to know why you're back there, so they're like, hey, shoot your lockup order, and I'm so stupid and naive, I don't even know what they're saying, so they have me with them like homies that are validated, but then the cops get me out of there ASAP because they don't want no messages going with me to regular people, right? So then they put me with validated white boys, and these white boys at the time, they were NLRs, and and they tell me for the lockup order, and I don't even know what it is. So eventually I tell them, hey, I got no paper, I just got this, and they were like, yeah, that's it, that's what we want, and I'm like, all right. And they show you so much love, and this ain't Mexican, this is white guys, so they're saying, hey, we don't got no food right now, but when we go to canteen, a canteen is store, and in prison it's around 3 times a month, right? So these white boys that don't know me for a day in their life, they don't know me, I'm Mexican, I don't even know there's a love connection right here, right? They put these piles of food in front of my door, and keep in mind, I'm so young, and I feel that, and I'm like, wow, like in my head, I leave this pod to another pod, but before I leave, I'm like, wow, these white boys are so cool. Like I'm thinking they're so cool, man. And I'm telling my cellie is young too, and we're like, trip out. Like Mexicans didn't even give us this much food, but we haven't been to we haven't been to the hole or the shoe yet, So you show more love.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
You show more love when you're back there. And in time, it took years to figure this out. Like, I'm talking about years, like close to where I'm at now. That's a reward system. That's a reward system, guys. So here we are committing crimes in prison, and the cops don't know what to do with us. And they take us to the hole, and they're saying, you know what, you don't even belong in the hole, you belong in the shoe. They're punishing us.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
They're punishing us the same way a parent will punish a child on the streets. But instead of you sitting in the corner, now you got all these guys that are like, here's a Snicker and here's an M&M, and literally that's what they're giving us. It's Snickers and M&Ms and cookies and chips and soups. Like, but I don't even think we know what we're doing at this time. This is not strategic. This is not something someone thought out. It kind of just happened. But nonetheless, it is still a reward system. It's teaching you that when you do bad and when you come back here, you're going to get treated good. And I don't know that yet because it's my first time being back there. But in time, I do feel like that. I do feel like, forget the line. I'm going to the hole because they treat us better. The cops treat us better. The homies are better. Every other race is better.
All right. So right now, when he calls back, I'm gonna go ahead and double check with him because I'm not familiar. I don't know the differences between the hole and the shoe. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask him if he could go ahead and clarify for those of us that are not familiar with those terms. What's the difference? I'm assuming that the shoe is a lot more severe than the hole. But I'll go ahead and double check with him right now when he calls back. I'm limited on my knowledge as far as prison goes because fortunately for me I never ended up there.
This call is now being
Este
recorded.
es Global Tel Link. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tel Link.
Hello, Joe.
Hello.
Okay, so before you start, I have a question. I know you're about to get into the reward system. That you were entering. But for somebody that's never been to prison, or the average Joe that's listening to this content here or your journey, what's the difference between the shoe and what was it? The shoe and
The hole. The hole.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so somebody could get it on the streets, right? The hole is like the county jail, but the shoe is like La Pinta. So inside prison, now we're not in the county no more. We're not in juvenile hall no more. I'm in prison now, and in prison, I managed to lock myself up in prison inside the prison. That's the best way I could describe this. I am that much committed to this Biden lifestyle, and it's new. Keep in mind, all this is new to me because when I'm on the streets, I'm that kid that's just DJing, and I'm that kid. I'm stealing cars, I know that, but for the most part, I'm a normal kid. I'm happy. I'm not out there setting anything on fire. I'm not vandalizing. I'm not hurting animals. I'm not doing none of that crazy stuff that some other people might have did, right? And I'm not out there like, in my mind I was out there like, don't mess with me, right? But physically, I wasn't out there like shootings every day. That I wasn't Sons of Anarchy with it out there, right? But I'm coming to prison and it's evolving, and I want to say something. Like, when I'm 12 years old, I stopped dressing like a gang member, right? And I'm trying to get away from the gang. Like, I don't know if I'm trying to get away from it, but I fell in love with so much with like a different scene, like ravers, taggers, like the DJing scene, the party scene. I fell in love with that like through all my hearts, right? So I thought I was getting away from the gangs at 12 years old, because at 12 years old, that's like the last time everyone's trying to jump me in, because prior to that, everyone's trying to get a piece of me. Everyone's like, we're going to jump you in here. And I'm like, fuck you, fat, you ain't jumping, right? So at that time, that's around the last time people, they give up on me. They're like, this was never going to be a gang member, right? He just always declines it and everything, right? So I felt like I was getting away from gangs at 12. And then here I am, and I got found guilty, and I went to juvenile hall. I went to the county. I'm in prison. I'm in the early stages of the prison, my formative years in prison. And I felt like me trying to get away from it was all for nothing. Because I'm like, look at me now, right? I turned out to come to the place that even these gang members on the street that I know are not at. They're not even in here. I fucked my life up so much, and now I'm like it was all for nothing. I could have just got jumped into so and so, right? I could have got jumped into this one, and me trying to stray away from it. Now I was like, well, you should have just got in, you know, because at the end of the day, it didn't even matter. Look at you. You're you know, I know I'm a deep failure to my mom. Like, I know that. And before we even go any further, because I just thought of it right now, there's something I do in reception. Now, this is twisted and sick on its own, right? I get this life sentence, and I get off the bus, and I'm shaking, and I'm telling myself, don't shake, don't. They're going to think you're scared. And I meet my first cellmate, and we go through that, right? And me and my first cellmate are underage youth offenders. He's busted at 16, I'm busted at 17. So when I hear that, and he got 3 life sentences, he got it worse than me, right? So I hear that, and I'm like, it kind of reinforces the thought. Like, I already know I'm not going home, but it makes it stronger. Like, oh yeah, they don't give a fuck about us, you know? You know, when Tupac releases that song In the Future, he's dead already, by the way, but it comes out on Better Days. They don't give a fuck about us. Like, when that shit comes out, and I'm older when it comes out, but I'm like, dang, this fool knew what we were going through, you know? Because at this point, that's what it feels like, right? And I throw away all my addresses. I get all my letters, and I'm ripping them up, and I'm throwing them away. And my family's seeing me. This little kid that got the 3 life sentences at 16, he's seeing this, and he's like, I was thinking of that same shit. And he starts doing it too. So when I'm acting out, I'm not saying nothing is an excuse, right, for my behavior. Nothing is an excuse for my actions. But this is where I was at mentally. I was like, I'm starting a new life.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
I'm starting a new life. I'm not going to know nobody that I knew on the streets. You know, there's no point to stay in contact with my mom because all I am is a burden to her. You know, all I am is hurt to her, right? And you're a little kid still, so you don't know what you mean to your mom. But you know how you feel. And I didn't want nothing to do with the streets no more. So I throw away all the letters and all the addresses, and in my mind, I make a decision that I am never going to talk to no one on the streets again, you know, because my life is in prison now, and I'm never getting out. And just like when I went to the county jail, I had already committed this murder, which is bigger than anything I'm doing in jail or La Pinta, right? But just like when I went to the county, I said, oh, well, I got to show everyone who I am. Like, I got to make my name, right? That name follows me to prison. But I am not content with that. So now that I am in prison, my mind is like, I gotta make my name in prison. Because when I get to introduced to this hole, and I'm waiting to go to the shoe, I meet somebody there that had done 2 shoes before. So because he had done 2 shoes, and I'm on my way to my first one, I felt like this is my OG right here. This is my OG right here, and he is beating me. And what do I do when you beat me? What do I do? And I don't know it at the time, but how low do I feel because I can't read? I'm like, I want two shoes, you know? I want to get that. And that's all it breaks down to for me, for my individual self. I don't want you to beat me. I don't want nobody to say they're better than me right here, you know? And I got to at least tie you, or I'm not doing enough in my opinion at this time. So when we go to the hole, you know, they move me away from all those white guys because they didn't want me there either, because these are like high power. I'm gonna start using that word. These are like high power white guys, right? So they take me and my cellmate to a place where it's only us. We're all right there, like Southern California Mexicans, you know. And this is we just left reception, so everything's new to the police side on us. Like the cops don't really know too much about us because we're new first offenders. We're young. We didn't even make it out to reception. So everyone's telling me, hey, that yard right there, they call it a mutt yard right there. So it's like white, Mexicans, and blacks. And I don't know what a mutt yard is, but they're telling me like those are enemies. And all I know is like, okay, they're enemies, okay. And they're like, but you guys are gonna come to our yard. And I'm like, well, how are we gonna go to your yard? And they're like, oh, they'll know this and that, right? So I make it in my mind. I make it a point that I'm gonna go to this mutt yard. I tell myself, you need to sneak in there to fight. That way, by the time you do come to our yard, at least you have gone in there and fought with these guys, right? And nobody's telling me that. This is all in my own mind. This is all I'm taking it a step further. On every level, I'm taking it a step further when I'm this young. And I go to committee, and oh, by the way, my cellie gets kicked out. The cellie that I went with, he gets kicked out, and
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
and I stay doing the shoe, right? So now I'm with some older guy. Now I'm with some older guy from Long Beach, and he's trying to school me, but I'm so young, like I'm not fully there yet, you know. And real quick before we go to committee, I'll tell you how he was trying to school me. He's like, hey, little homie, you know, you don't have to be up all day, you know, like these doors ain't gonna open. So he likes to sleep into like 10:30, and I'm up posted. And he's looking at me like this fool's like a watchdog. He's just ready to attack anything. And now we're in a place where if these doors open, we do attack anything, right? This ain't the main line no more. Now we're in the back, and you're viewing everything like an enemy now, right here, back here, right? And to me, I'm like, I'm just saying, it's not really about that, but he's trying to like let your guard down a little. And this guy shares so much knowledge with me right here. And one thing he says is like, this game will use you up. It won't give a shit about you. And it'll spit you out and not think twice about you, right? Now, when he's telling me, in my mind, I'm just like, this old man's bitter. He's been through the ringer a couple of times. Fool, you ain't me. You're just bitter, right? And another thing he tries to install in me, and the ladies, anyone outside of California, even people in California, even men in California that are currently in gangs and stuff like that, they're probably going to trip out when I say this, right? But you know, I stand up when I pee right here because I'm a man. Like, how else do we pee, right? Like, we stand up, we point, we shoot, we aim, right? So I'm doing this, and this guy's about 35, you know, 38, 37, and he's been in prison for the past 20 years or whatever. But he knows I'm young. You know, one thing is we try to not be brutal to the little guys coming in. We try not to be brutal to them, you know? So he tells me, hey, you know, where you're going, most guys sit down when they pee. And I'm just like, oh, yeah? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, all right. And I don't listen to him for nothing in that cell. Like, I stay standing up. Like, sit down. Come on, fool. But in time, through Sally in prison, you know, at least for Southern California Mexicans, we do sit down when we pee. And I'm going to say that for this reason. The cells are small. So when you pee and it splashes, and it could splash on the wall of the toilet or on the wall or on the bunk because the bunk is so close. Like, imagine that. And imagine how deadly that fight could go. Say I'm peeing on someone, I'm peeing in the toilet and the splash goes on the bunk, on the guy's pillow, and there's knives in the cell. And like he feels disrespected to the max. Like, fool, I'm going to gut you out. And now we're fighting with knives in the cell and the COs ain't there. You know, for the viewers that hear, people do die in these cells. People do get killed in La Pinta cells. Now, the majority of that's always on 180s. We went over that topic of which ones they are, right? But occasionally stuff like that happens on other yards too. That ain't a 180, you know, but the majority will always for sure be up there. So that's why in time I learn how to sit down when I pee. Like I learn it, and not only do I learn it, like if I have a little homie driving up, I will for sure teach him and like, hey fool, you sit down. Whether you're gonna like it or not, because if it's not this cell, it's the next cell.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
And I'm not gonna let you get hurt. You're not coming into my cell and walking out with not knowing how to do things, because that's a reflection on me. Like I didn't teach you well, you know? So he wasn't that hard with me, but he did try to teach me. Now when it gets back, I'm gonna share me going to the committee and me trying to get to this yard that is called a mutt yard before I go with the homies where it's all Mexicans, right? So I'll call back right now.
All right, thank you. All right, and I appreciate him taking the time to explain that to us and to me and to the audience, because a lot of people that are not that haven't been in these places or outside of California, I'd be like, yeah, I'm not gonna sit down. But what he's saying does definitely make a whole lot of sense. I'm definitely not trying to get any pee on my pillow or my sheets and whatnot. And yeah, it's a small area, to be able to maneuver in. I think a lot of the times you can't even.
This call is now being
Esta es
recorded.
Global Tel-Link. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Tel-Link.
Hello.
Hello?
All right.
Yeah. Okay, so continue along?
Yeah, you got this.
Okay. I'm trying to go to this mud yard. And what a committee is like, I guess it's a committee on the streets too, right? It's people that are in charge of what you're going to do, and they're reviewing your case, right? Your case factors. And this is not has to do with it doesn't have to do with your crime. It's more along the lines of the things that are happening in La Pinta, because now they're building a new record on you, and they're telling me, what are you? And at this time, like, you're asking me what I am, I'm like, I'm nothing. And they're like, man, get out of here with that. So they're, I guess La Pinta's more used to like you saying whatever you are or who you run with, and I'm fresh off the streets. So my mind frame is, tell these fools nothing. You are a cop, you are a lawyer, you are a judge, like you are law enforcement. You ain't going to get nothing out of me. House me wherever you want to house me. And the whole point of discussion is because they want to know, like where do they house me? Because they don't got a spot in La Pinta for normal people, right? That's out the window. If you're a normal white guy, you being white, they're going to put you with the woodpile. They're going to house you up with a hardcore gang member woodpile that you're not accustomed to their life. Even though you're white, you don't know about this life. So they're going to put you in there anyways. They're going to deem you a woodpile. The California La Pinta system at this time is very gang orientated, right? So you can't just come in and say, hey, I'm Mexican and I do nothing from nowhere, because they're gonna put you somewhere. So if you're a black guy and you're a black guy from Wisconsin or Georgia and you don't know nothing about California, they ain't playing that.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
You're gonna go in a blood cell, a crip cell. You're gonna go somewhere, bro. You're gonna eventually be something, because we're not just gonna let you linger out here, you know. And so when they start questioning me, I just keep saying, hey, I'm a Mexican. I don't know nothing. I'm naive. I'm this. I'm that. Right? And they're like, are you a Mexican from Mexico? And I'm like, no. And they're like, so you're not? I'm like, no, I'm born here. And then so finally, a commissioner gets mad. He's like, well, what county did you come from? And I'm like, oh, I came from Riverside County. And he's like, oh, that's easy. You're a Southerner. And I'm like, no, I'm not, because I'm trying to get to that mud yard. So I don't want them to classify me yet as a Southerner, right? I want to go do damage on this yard. And I'm fighting to get in this yard. And I'm like, I'm nothing. I don't know nothing. I don't play with gangs. I don't do nothing, right? Because I'm trying to commit violence on this yard. And they go, we're doing you the favor. You are a Southerner, and that's that. And it's ding, the hammer hits, whatever. They don't have a hammer, but I'm just using it as a figure of speech. So then I go with the homies to the yard, and that's my first yard where I'm with everybody now. Now it's probably like 18 of us. 2 guys on that yard. They had the misfortune of coming to prison. They're young, by the way. They're like in their early 20s or maybe even 19 still. They had the misfortune of coming to prison at that time and picking up life sentences. So they're guys that were going to go home. They had a date. They were eventually going to be released to the streets to be with their families. And they put this lifestyle ahead of everything. And they walked away picking up life terms. And in these days, nobody gets out from a life sentence. So this is big boys. Now we're with the big boys, and we're playing by the big boy rules, and these 2 poor gentlemen had to suffer those consequences. And they're in the back with me at this time. And guess who else is in the back but on a different yard? The guy that I tried to steal the watch for. He ended up coming back before me for something else, and then I ended up following him. So again, your reputation precedes you. Like everywhere you go, good or bad in prison, it's like a phone number went before you saying it's going to come here. And these days there is no cell phone. It's an awkward thing to try to explain, but everybody knows everything beforehand. Word of mouth. And so when I get there, who knows what that homie's saying about me? Like, oh, this little fool, I don't know. But I'm happy he's there, and I'm happy I'm there, because they're telling me that I'm on the toughest yard in that hole, meaning we do the most exercise. We are the most physically fit, because sometimes you want to be lazy, and sometimes people in charge want to be lazy, and they're a little bit, you still have to do it, but they're a little bit more lazy on the other side, and we are the toughest one. We are so tough that I threw up 2 times on that first yard, and I was in shape. And I thought I was ready for it, and they exhausted me so much that I threw up 2 times. I had to run to the toilet 2 times and come back and run in place, and this is a workout like maybe I missed this part. This is a workout that is like military. Like you watch the army movies, like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's the same thing, but it's in Spanish. It's like 1, 2, 3, 1. No, and you keep going. And it's very army-like, and I'm falling in love with what I'm seeing. And now a whole big pile of weight of humbleness is coming upon me, because now I don't know how or when or why, but I'm like a sponge, and I'm soaking everything up, and I'm learning. And all those guys in the county telling me you need to slow down, it happens right here. I slow down, and I'm in awe at everything I'm seeing. You're making string to pull whatever you're pulling, like a bag of Pruno. And what Pruno is liquor. So picture putting a bottle of liquor in a bag, right? And and you tie the bag so it don't spill, and now you got to pull it with something. So you're pulling the string. I'm seeing these guys make string out of thin air, and I'm like, how cool is that? And in my mind, it's like, how smart are these guys? Like, these guys are geniuses in here. Like, we can't do that, and we got that. We're in La Pinta, from La Pinta. Well, I'm about to go to it. But we have weapons, and this is the place where the cops search like crazy, and you can't have a weapon. How smart are we? How smart are we to get these things and make these things and do these things, and we don't have hammers, we don't have chisels, we have nothing, and we're still doing it. And I was falling in love with this, you know, and in a place where they tell you that you can't amount to nothing, because this is where people come to not amount to nothing, right? You're a complete failure. You're a failure of society. You got a life sentence when you're not even 18 years old. You're gonna die in here. This really meant everything to me. This really meant, like, I could see my success in here, you know. And I don't want to be nothing. Like, I really don't want to be nothing. So I'm gonna make myself be something, you know. So then they eventually they tell us, hey guys, we're gonna open up Tehachapi Shoe, and I don't know what this means. I'm a kid, so I'm mad because I can't go to Corcoran no more. That's how I really feel in my heart. I'm like, I'm pissed off, and everyone around me is like, man, we're all mad because we wanted to go to Corcoran. I wanted to go to a real shoe. That's how I'm thinking right here. Like, I want to go to a real shoe. This was just being made. Well, you don't really know that when they make a shoe, they make a shoe, bro. Like this is real. There's nothing fake about it, right? So they transfer me from one yard to the other yard. And when I get there, now I feel like I feel a sense of being at home. I feel a sense of, like, you made it. Like, all this running and all this negative stuff that you were doing, now I'm meeting peers that are just as negative as me. They're coming up from different parts of Southern California, and it's rare if you have a homeboy in these settings, you know, because we're all mixed up. And I feel like we're getting the cream of the crop. Like, I'm meeting my first person from Maywood, and this fool's a G, and we're trading stories. Like, you're glamorizing the lifestyle in these cells, and you're trading stories. And I mean, my first person from the lot, and he gets life at 14 years old. And you know, I'm in awe at my company, and at the same time, I feel like I earned my way here. I feel like, well, I know they too admire me as much as I admire them. And we are the worst of the worst of the worst. And I want to say something. We're all little kids. Not one person I am mentioning right now is not even 23 years old. Everybody I'm talking about right now, it's like 19, 20, 21. We're a batch of the 90s babies that committed crimes in their own jurisdictions of the streets, went to their own county jails, came to La Pinta early on because everyone's still young. They ended up managing to lock themselves up in La Pinta of the Pinta. So it doesn't get worse than this setting, is what I'm trying to explain. There is no next level. We are there already, ladies and gentlemen. We are at that next level, and it doesn't get deeper than this. And we're opening up this shoe, Tehachapi Shoe. And the cops are in there every day. They search our cell every day, but they're only supposed to search like 3 times. I get 3 cells a day or something, but they're hitting all of our cells. So I didn't really talk about like wine and drink, like Pruno. We call it Pruno in the county jail and in La Pinta. And then when you burn that down, you make like moonshine, like tequila, you know, like vodka, you know. But I really didn't talk about it. But in these days of opening up Tehachapi Shoe, all we want to do is drink. And the cops keep taking the batches. And that becomes the issue. and it becomes an issue so much that we put cardboard on our windows. And this group of the baddest, some of them are in the shoe for a riot that happened in Salinas Valley with homies and cops. So there's 28 homies against 13 officers. And at the end of the day, inmate will always be cuffed up and possibly beaten when these things happen. But as it's happening, that's everybody's highlight moment. So when you do a crime in La Pinta, they'll file a report, and all the actions that happen will be on the report. So when we're boarding up, because we're mad because they're coming in the cells, and boarding up is like covering your window. Because if the cop can't see you, the cop can't go home because they don't know if you killed your cellie in there. They don't know if you guys escaped. So there has to be a way to see you. So we're mad and we cover the windows up. And all the homies that came from that riot with the cops, they're putting their paperwork. Instead of putting cardboard, these guys are flashing their paperwork on the windows. And you're seeing pictures of her officers and bandaged up and in wheelchairs and all this and that. And, riots are ugly no matter who they happen with. And they're putting it up there to show these cops, like, you ain't nothing, fool. We're going to get it like that right here, right? And us that weren't in that riot, we're taking joy and we're taking pride because it's our homies that did that. And I'm just like him if you don't believe that. And all the homies that weren't there are just like him, and we're going to show you that right here. So we're gearing up for like those kind of situations. And you had lieutenants because they would like to talk to my neighbor at this time, whenever there's a problem. And a lieutenant was in there. Now, I won't mention his name, but the cops didn't like him because his family had a thick reputation in there, and they thought he was a young lieutenant.
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
But anyways, somebody upstairs don't know the lieutenant's in there yet, right? So they scream for my neighbor, which is a little kid, not the one they want to talk to, but his cellmate. And they scream, hey, excuse me on the tier, dispensa on the tier, trouble.
Le queda un restante de 60 segundos.
Hey, James, it's gonna be 11. Do we cut it right now?
Let's run one more.
Okay, run one more. Okay, so they scream on the tier, hey, trouble, and in my mind, I'm like, I can't let the homie get busted. They're gonna know his name. Like in my mind, I just can't let the cops know who he is, right? And it's not even like they're looking for him. But as a criminal, I have to protect my fellow criminal. I have to jump in front. I have to bite the bullet right here, guys. And I jump on the door and I'm like, hey, Spencer on the tier, excuse me on the tier. Hey, homie, there's a lieutenant on the tier. We'll get at you later, And then I just shut up. And then the lieutenant, now he looks at my door. He starts knocking on my window, and he's like, hey, trouble. Because I just basically answered for.
All right, so this call just came to an end. He should be calling us back relatively quickly. I think out of everybody that's been coming on, he got this. He has this on speed dial, so you won't have to hear me that much, speaking, during these moments. But this is gonna be our last call for this stream here, and I gotta go ahead and start, get ready, for my day. Unfortunately today, I do have to go to work. I'm gonna be working that late shift, so gotta go ahead and take care of my my duties, earlier on.
This call is now being
Esta
recorded.
es Global Telling. Usted tiene una llamada prepagada de
Joe Perez.
un preso recluido de la prisión estatal de Centinela, California. Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. Para aceptar esta llamada, diga o oprima ahora el 5. Gracias por utilizar Global Telling.
Hello. All right, it's all you.
Okay. So in my mind, I have to defend the cops from even gaining the knowledge of my friend's name, because what they do is they start eventually getting our names, and they'll connect everything to us. And then what will happen will be eventually it will get validated. Now, that's like a life sentence of La Pinta in La Pinta, right? That's basically what that is in a nutshell. So when I do that, this lieutenant in his mind, he makes a footnote in his mind that this cell belongs to Trouble. So I can't remember the details of that day, and it's not important. But the important part is that, like, I threw the shield on me, like I'm Trouble, you know. And in the future, what this does is when we start having everything in the future, like problems, the lieutenant will come. And now he's not even coming to my neighbor's door. And my neighbor at the time, like the older one, he was in charge right there. And he kind of tells me like, "Hey, it's okay. You know how to speak. Take on this role," because now I'm trying to protect him too, because that's what we're doing, right? We protect each other as criminals, just like when I was in the county jail and I hit that guy on sentencing and all the inmates get in front of me. Like it's like a natural reaction, so to speak, right? So now when the lieutenant comes and he'll be like, "Hey, Trouble," and it's pre-ordered, it's predetermined. When he comes, I'm gonna take the board down and I'm gonna talk to him, and we're gonna figure out how we can solve this issue, right? So in the months to come, that's what I was doing. Every time there was an issue, he'll come and he'll knock at my window, and he'll be like, "Hey, Trouble," and I'll be like, "What's up?" You know, and I will call him by his name, and I'll be like, "What's up, fool?" And he'll be like, "How do we fix this?" And the cops behind him will be so mad because he's supposed to be like, for a cop, you're supposed to be on their side, but this is a lieutenant, so he's like, I'm on the side that says, squash the issue, let's move forward, you know. And they didn't like that because these are real old school cops. They really hated us at this time. And he would always squash beefs, and we'll be like, okay, that's all we're asking for. Nothing more than what we have coming. Just give us our respect, right? And in time, eventually, through all these dilemmas, two homies end up in another block, but in the shoe. Two homies end up at breakfast time and dinner time. They have a tray on the door where they open it and they hand you the food. So these two homies felt so disrespected that they ended up grabbing the cop by his hand when he hands in the tray, and one inmate is pulling the arm as far as it could go in the cell, and the other inmate has a razor blade and he's swinging at the guy's wrist and arm, you know, and the cop is screaming, and the cop is, you know, eventually he gets his arm out, but the damage is done. And that was to say, like, you guys are doing too much, you know, you guys are being too harsh with us. Like, you bag a dog into a corner, he's going to bite eventually, you know? And I will say this, after that incident happened, like, it improved the shoe so much, where no one's trying to take advantage on the other side. They're not trying to be bullies to us. Now they're following the laws, like, just the law, nothing more, you know? And that happened, and this shoe term is my first shoe term. So I'm scared. I'm still scared to crash and burn because I don't even know what that means, you know? And I'm asking everyone to be like, you'll be fine, fool. Like, you got it. Don't worry. Like, that's for other homies, you know? And I'm like, well, I remember what everyone told me. So I'm never even on the main line yet, right? I'm barely going to go to the main line after I get out of the shoe. But in this shoe, what I did do was I put my head down and I learned. And in the exercise routine one time, it was another hard yard. This is in the shoe already. It was the hardest yard. We will scream till it hurts, like your lungs are going to pop out of your body. And there was an older homie there that was real rough on all of us. And he had reason to. He had been in high desert before, and he was stabbing somebody. And those Mini-14s, those guns I was talking about, the cops hold, they shot him before. And they ripped him a new butthole out of his butt. You know, like it was, the scar was there, and he had to go to the hole. And they were tough on him, and he would be like, if I went through that, where I couldn't even walk right, and I had to do these exercises where I couldn't even move right, and I was in pain, and I had just been shot, and they showed me no mercy, I'm going to show you no mercy. So that's the kind of rough exercise yard we were on. And I learned a lot there. I learned a lot about La Pinta, you know. I asked a million questions, and that old roughneck that I'm talking about, he used me as an example, right, one time when we were in the yard. because he used to tell all of us, like, we're starting over. And he'll give you this look where you're like, man, I know that's because of me. You know, he gave you this look like a dad, like a mean coach look. And 2 weeks after I hit that yard, he stopped looking at me like that. He used me as an example and said, hey, is this little fool don't want me?
Esta llamada y su número de teléfono será controlada y grabada.
He's going to get better. And look at the little homie right here. I was on his bumper. But 2 weeks later, look at him. Now he does everything correct. And I didn't realize right there how I didn't realize a couple of things right there. I didn't realize how I had improved on the workout, but more importantly, I didn't realize how good it felt for someone to give you props on something you're doing, you know? And maybe he's not even trying to give me props at the time, but he's telling everyone else, like, pick up your game, because I will tell you forever, you know? And those were the things I learned. And I don't want to get into no other stories or no other things, because this next part is it's real big. It's going to be real big for the audience, for the children. And I'm calling them children because that's what they are, you know? Young adults that are going to hear this next part, because I myself have expressed this, and a lot of other inmates have expressed this. And it's like, if only I had known, then you know what? Maybe I don't commit this crime, you know? But I didn't know. And I didn't know this is how it will be for the rest of my life, you know? So, with that, James, would you, do you have, yeah?
Yeah, so you know, I really appreciate, you know, you taking time out of your day, and you know, and you know, sharing your journey with us, and definitely, you know, don't want to overlook, you know, our supporters here, our listeners that you know are tapping in, you know, day in and day out, and I'll go ahead and, you know, shouting out El Iceman, Righteous Monkey, Amy, Aquatic Amigo. And that's as far as, you know, this stream today. But can't forget about Fish Lair SoCal, Richard.
Yeah.
I mean, feel free to drop names, you know, because I'm over here grabbing for straws as far as names, because I have a bad memory.
Hey, James. Hey, James. It's okay, James. But you know, as soon as you read those 4 names right there, or maybe it was 5, right? And you're like, well, that's all that's tuning in with it. I had the biggest smile on my face right now. Because I really, guys, look, I come in here and I think like nobody's going to be listening, and you know, like, you know, where's this really going, you know? And when James reads off your names like that's touching to me, right? And when he started sending me the comments, like in the picture, and I physically seen it, I showed my cellmate, and my cellmate's like, damn, fool, I didn't know it's that. And I'm like, well, me neither, bro. Me neither, you know? But it feels strangely good for an incarcerated individual to see that kind of stuff. And I'm deeply humbled, and there's no other way to say it, bro. You guys make me feel like a bubble of love, you know? And I know this is not what that's about, first of all. But the way you guys are making me feel I do feel that, you know?
And you know what? And just to, you know, clarify, there's actually 9 people and you're watching. It's just sometimes people are just, you know, just watching the content, you know, and they don't participate in the chat, which is, you know, perfectly fine too.
Yeah.
And then Betty K actually, you know, dropped a message right now. She says, "I'm in here too, laughing out loud." So you know, she was listening to. You know,
okay. Yeah. Thank you guys. And whenever we do cut live again, you know, I'm gonna talk about that, because so many of us, and it affects all of us in prison. I'm going to say it like that. It affects every man that has come to La Pinta, right? And a lot of us feel we wouldn't have committed these crimes had we known, you know? And it's a topic that was there, because I'm explaining the journey as I go. So when I get into my next journey, it's going to be when I get out of the shoe and I actually hit Tehachapi Mainline, right? And right there, I started discovering things. And this is the first time that it's like it becomes like an issue in my head, right? But it never goes away. From then till now, and all new inmates that come to prison, come to La Pinta, it's always there, and everyone always talks about it. It's like something that is timeless, and it's like a classic album, so to speak, right? It will never get old. And no matter who you are, you kind of say the same thing. Had I known, I wouldn't be here today because I didn't sign up for this, you know?
Hey, thank you. And you know what? I'm going over my screenshots here so I could refresh my memory on whoever I miss. And definitely,
Okay,
don't want to forget about
okay.
Angel, Felipe Navarro from El Paso, Texas, Last House Chronicles, Tony
Yeah,
Yayo coming out of Riverside, and
yeah.
Eastwood. Eastwood. He's been dropping some messages also. Too Valid 123. So there's a lot of people that are tuning in, and I really appreciate
And
everybody. Go ahead.
yeah, and absolutely, and Eastwood, man, I know so. I'm not gonna say I know so many like handfuls on handfuls on handfuls, but I do know handfuls of people in your jurisdiction, and I know you know them too. I just haven't mentioned nobody, but yeah, it's right there, right up to the neck of what's that guy say, Al Roker? It's in your neck of the woods, what's happening in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And with that, I got one other person that just came to mind, Marlene. I'm not sure if you know Gary, but that's Gary's cousin that taps in from time to time. So really
okay.
appreciate it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and that man you just named right now, he's one of my later acquaintances in prison, and there is much love and admiration for him. He helped me get ready along the journey.
yeah. He has a real big heart, and he has a real big support system from his family. When I originally started doing these lives, when he would jump on, man, his family would come in deep, like 15, 20 deep at a time. So
Oh man. Well, you know what? It's to match his big wide smile that guy got, because his joy, you could see it when he's really happy. And I'm so happy that he has a family loving and supportive like that. And man, they show up. I almost want to call them Raider fans because they're showing up like Raider fans.
that's right. Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah.
And with that, I'm gonna go ahead and go ahead and conclude the stream for today. And if you want to call me back after we're done with this call, so like that we could go and touch bases and check when you're available for your next stream.
When's the next time?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'll be available tomorrow. So if you want to think about if you're available tomorrow, then we could go ahead and definitely do that. And with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and conclude this stream. And the saying that I got going on right now, it's gonna be life's like a candle. Once you blow it, it's lights out.
Lights out.